Hey, it's Cliff, and I found a little bit of Coreum slash Sologenic drama, so who doesn't want to hear about that? Of course, right? So there was a space on X, right? And this was hosted by the Ripple developers with David Schwartz and a few other guys, as well as a company called Axelar, who is also building within the XRP ecosystem. And so they kind of misspoke here. I'll bring up the clip. So the company Axelar actually said that they were the first to be bridging assets on the XRPL. And I will show you that clip here. That way you don't have to actually watch the hour-long space, because to be honest, there was nothing really good said in this space. It was a complete waste of my time. That's an hour that I'm never gonna get back in my life. It's one of those meetings where you kind of sit there and you think this could have been an email, and it makes you contemplate what you're doing with your life, like what other things you could be doing. You know, you start to get feelings about how you're gonna die one day, and this is what you're doing with your time. But anyway, I got the clip for you, and I'm gonna show it to you here.
Jason, could you tell us a few details as to what this integration with the XRP ledger looks like and what it will bring to the ecosystem?
Yeah, absolutely. From Axelar's point of view, we believe this is going to be an absolute game changer for Ripple and XRPL because, this will be the first interoperability solution that is going to connect over 60 chains. Axelar today supports both all of the major EVM chains, such as Ethereum, Arbitrum, Base, and so on, as well as all the Cosmos IBC chains. On our roadmap, we also have Solana and Sui to be live in Q2. What this means for XRPL is that users will be able to transfer liquidity, all of the major assets, onto XRPL from any of these chains in a very seamless and secure way. For developers, with Axelar's message passing capabilities, they'll be able to pass any payload, call contracts across any of these chains that Axelar supports on the network as well. What that concretely means is there will be all kinds of new cross-chain applications that will arrive on the XRPL. And XRPL developers will also be able to make their existing applications cross-chain, right? These things could range from like cross-chain swaps, cross-chain lending, omni-chain name services, NFT bridging, just to name a few. As like a formal Rippler myself, I know the strength of Ripple and some of the challenges. I think by having this kind of next-gen interoperability, it's going to open XRPL to all kinds of new exciting opportunities.
So there you have it. You have this guy from Axelar claiming that they are the first company to be making interoperability on the XRPL, which is obviously not going to sit right with the guys from Coreum, right? Because they are actually the ones who are the first to create interoperability on the XRPL. So the whole thing gets into this weird vibe where Axelar is now the favorite child of XRPL, and now Coreum is like the stepchild that no one likes, to which the Coreum founders and developers are very upset, and they come on Twitter and they start raging hard on their keyboard. They go full-blown rage. So you have Reza during this interview, and he says, actually, and that makes me have like the Reddit meme where the guy's like, actually. But anyway, he says, actually, Coreum is the first decentralized two-way bridge linking the XRPL ecosystem with Cosmos-based IBCs-enabled chains, not Axelar, as mentioned by Jason. It's great to see more bridges, but one should not mislead the community. Right? And the weird thing about this is you had Ripple developers there, like David Schwartz. And I know David Schwartz knows about Coreum, but they didn't call him out and say, like, no, actually, that's not the first chain. Axelar is not the first chain, right? It's actually Coreum. They didn't say anything about it. They didn't back them up, and that's probably where a lot of this rage comes from. So then Bob Ross, who's the CEO of Coreum, chimes in, and he says it's not only ridiculous, but also disappointing to see that Ripple and Ripple devs do not adequately support the community developers and the projects that add value to the XRPL, and they also allow misinformation to be spread through their official channel. So they obviously are taking this personal. So one of the big things that people are always wondering when it comes to Coreum is when they're actually going to get the last final airdrop, right? There is like 20 million core tokens out there that Coreum has been saying for a long time they're going to distribute to their community, and we hear nothing about it besides, yep, yeah, you're going to get that eventually. So guy here follows up. His name is Real Talk. He says, disappointing that you never gave the supportive solo holders their Coreum airdrop and many other broken promises. What comes around goes around. To which Reza replies, and he says, What was promised was delivered. All airdrops were distributed exactly as promised. The remaining 20 million core to solo holders were the ones that remained unclaimed, and it was the foundation's choice to distribute it to the existing holders, which we haven't declined. We custody that and we'll airdrop it at the appropriate time, taking into account the best for the ecosystem. So again, they're saying they're gonna give us this 20 million core airdrop, but we don't have a date. We don't see anything happen. It's been years at this point trying to get these final airdrops, but I guess they just want us to hang out and wait, and maybe one day they will give us those coins. So with them being upset, Bob Ross further goes on to explain. He says, to shed some light on this, they mentioned numerous times they see Coreum as a competitor to the XRPL, and our response every single time has been Coreum is enhancing the XRPL. Perhaps we should reconsider that stance. So that's where it's getting real spicy. Basically, they were saying all along that they are part of the team of the XRPL. We are enhancing it. We are building to make this a better chain, but now maybe we shouldn't think so. Crypto Pirate says, that is the point, that Coreum can enhance the XRPL and other chains. Interoperability is key, but some would prefer a monopoly. What Sologenic has done for the XRPL is unparalleled, and what Coreum has built and is building will revolutionize the space. So again, yeah, there's gonna be people out there who wanna monopolize these bridges, and I think anybody with that amount of power is probably going to want to do that because that's where the money's going to be made. If you have control of the entire ecosystem, then you are the guy with the money. And I think that goes for everyone. If Coreum could control the entire ecosystem, they probably would too. Bob says probably the only layer one foundation with that type of approach and attitude. Disappointing. We've been trying for a long time to get them to evaluate and reconsider their approach, but with no success. There is a limit to everything. Enough is enough. So I'm trying to read between the lines. What does that mean? You're still building within the XRPL. What does that mean you're going to do with your layer one? Are you going to take it off to the side and do its own thing now? Or is this going to be an actual layer one with XRPL not being the source of holding all the liquidity? You're actually going to go off and do your own thing now? Is that what's going on? Who knows? Are they just mad and they're venting? I don't know. So Bob Ross takes the podium. He is the CEO, right, of Coreum, and he wants to clarify some of his ideas here. And he goes on a tweeting rampage. So he starts out saying, unleashing XRPL's potential, calling all XRPL believers, Ripple Dev, Brad Garlinghouse. This isn't FUD, it's a wake-up call. As a founding member of an early XRPL project, I'm deeply concerned about the recent events. Let's break it down. Before Sologenic, the XRPL DEX saw minimal usage. When we announced building on the XRPL, it put a spotlight on the XRPL's potential, and more projects realized they can actually build on the XRPL despite its limitations, which is somewhat true. There was a lot of things going on with XRPL that people were trying to build on, a lot of things that were not successful, clearly, as Coreum is somewhat successful, I guess, at this point. No one's really using Coreum besides staking. There's not an actual feature at this point. I'm sure people are going to argue with me, but things are being built on it, but the utility isn't actually there yet. And staking is not a utility. If we're saying that the number one reason people want to get into Coreum is to stake their coins, that's not a functionality that is people should be getting into Coreum for. Staking does nothing for the chain as far as a feature. It's great for voting and securing the chain and things like that. But if you're staking just to stake, then the coin is worthless at that point. And you're just having a inflation in the environment, and that doesn't do anything. It needs actual purpose. There needs to be purpose on Coreum. When they're talking about smart tokens and building within that, that is actual functionality, right? But anyway, before I go on a crazy rant, let's just keep going. We developed an enterprise-grade tokenization solution on XRPL and spent 18 months pursuing regulatory approval for a broker-dealer license. Then the SEC lawsuit against Ripple hit, shattering regulatory confidence in the entire XRPL ecosystem. In parallel, we productively pivoted, developing Coreum, a new blockchain with smart contracts and interoperability with other chains. This offered the missing functionalities XRPL lacked, empowering developers to build innovative use cases. Last week, we launched a decentralized open source bridge between XRPL and Coreum. This allows XRPL assets to flow to Coreum and connect to IBC chains. Developers can now leverage smart token technology for innovative use case, not just for XRP and Solo, but for all XRPL assets. Retail users also benefit by contributing to the AMM pools on Coreum and other IBC blockchains, earning rewards. However, Ripple X recently endorsed misinformation about another chain's bridge being the first IBC. This is misleading and undermines the efforts of the entire XRPL. Let's face it, XRPL has limitations. If Ripple holds most of the XRP supply, it's in their best interest to support all innovative projects building use cases for XRPL, not those just by ex-employees, which he's obviously calling out the Axelar guy there. He's a ex-Ripple developer. And to his point, I absolutely agree with him, because when it comes to Ripple, they hold such a huge amount of the supply of XRP that it is dangerous to the entire ecosystem. He goes on to say, remember how the iPhone replaced outdated phones? XRPL risks the same fate without embracing innovation. To truly care about the XRPL, Ripple needs to stop selective funding and support all developers building the future. The XRP community has waited patiently for Ripple to disrupt cross-border payments and replace SWIFT, but if that vision is a long way off, shouldn't Ripple at least support all builders adding value to XRPL to grow the ecosystem, just like any other successful layer 1? This isn't an attack, it's a call to action to make XRPL the innovative ecosystem it has potential to be. We all want XRPL to succeed. So where I kind of disagree is Ripple is supporting other chains by bringing Axelar on their spaces, because I've never heard of Axelar. I didn't know what they were doing. I still don't even really know what they were doing after being on that space. They didn't really talk about any of their plans, any of what they were doing, even though in a weird sense, it seemed like the whole space was like a promotional sense for Axelar. It seemed like everything was scripted and that really they didn't answer any questions from the community or anything. So it was really just them bringing Axelar to the public. So I'm sure Coreum's just mad because they weren't mentioned as being the first, even though they were, and they should be mad. I totally agree with them. If you're the first to build something, then you should get the kudos. But, you know, looks like Ripple didn't want to do it. This guy kind of brought up a good point about what Bob was saying. He says, is the crux of your point that you want Ripple to give you money? If so, what will you do with this money? You've already built a separate chain, correct? Which kind of brings in the idea that Ripple does kind of see them as competition, because it is a whole new layer 1. Even though they are trying to build with interoperability, you're still building a layer 1 chain. This guy says, I call BS, sounds like more nagging over funding, which maybe it is. Maybe it's just an issue of they want funding, and Axelar actually has ties between Ripple because this guy used to work for them, and maybe they left on good notes, and so that's where the money's going. They're going to people that they actually know. This guy really put it in perspective. The entire space was a complete waste of time. He says the discussion was underwhelming, to put it mildly. It felt like a parade of rehearsed corporate lines, devoid of any substantial insights or detailed explanations. The absence of probing questions was stark, not a single question from the community, nor any attempt to address the more challenging aspect. I'm still in the dark about how Axelar will enhance the XRPL. This topic has enormous potential for an engaging audience. Why not dive deeper, offer examples, or provide some estimated timelines? And that was my thing. Like, you guys made this be like a promotion for Axelar, but I don't even know what they do. What's going on with it? Who are they? The choice of speakers was puzzling. Why were no AMM UI providers included? And truly, having speakers who are more than anonymous names adds a much needed personal touch. All speakers seem totally separated from each other. The topic was AMM on the XRPL, yet they have no continuous discussion. Honestly, I'm struggling to articulate my reaction. It left me utterly speechless. And to me, I feel the same way. Besides this clip that I'm gonna bring to you, that thing was a complete waste of time. Pretty much they just said, hey, we know there's some issues going on with the AMM. Right now we are working on it, and just give us time to work on it. Really, that could have been an email. It was a complete waste of time. So let me know what you think about this. Does Coreum actually have the right to be upset about this? In my opinion, I think they do, because they were the first to build interoperability on the XRPL. I get it. I understand why they're mad, but I don't know. Is it worth it for them to actually keep building with Ripple, or should they just go their separate ways? What do you think? And what does that mean when Bob says that he's questioning if he should? What does that look like for Coreum? Let me know down below. As always, thank you for watching.